belief is that the current time is approximately 5 p.m. And you have returned to your garage after leaving Miskatonic University, and you are currently in your laboratory with the resources you gathered from Miskatonic U and whatever else you remember of the previous events. Well, that depends on your memory. But anyways, you find yourself inside your garage, and the air is cool, your equipment is scattered around. The robot, or rather the android, is still in its semi automated state with this little green ready lights blinking, but it's still in an inanimate state. And you can hear it's quiet up the stairs. Your family is either left the house or they're being quiet in their rooms, but it doesn't sound like there's anybody in the kitchen right now.
All right, so it's 5 o'clock. Let's try to power up this robot somehow. So I'm gonna roll like something for just like intelligence and just see what I know about the power source relating to the robot. Okay.
Well, you already know, right? So this is where we're at, right? You charge the robot up using your nephew, or rather your grandson Cody, right? You put a little bit of charge in it, and if I'm not mistaken, you actually created a power source using the quantum crystallography stuff that you got. But if I'm not mistaken, you still have not created the artificial heart that is necessary.
No, I have the heart, but I don't have a power source because I used my grandson as the power source for a second, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's what you already know, right? You're not going to be able to operate this robot until you've created an actual permanent power source and a permanent artificial heart. So you've created the artificial heart, can pump cooling equipment through its insides, but until it has a solid power source, at best you're going to get a few seconds out of it.
Okay. Let's how much do I know about the research chemical that I created?
Well, you know enough because you synthesized it successfully using the laboratory. So essentially what you have here is the equivalent of pharmaceutically pure liquid DMT. However, it's all been molecularly rearranged so that 1 to 2 carbon atoms have been displaced by one valence ring, so that were this to be tested by the police, you wouldn't be carrying anything illegal because it wouldn't flag as any kind of prescribed drug. So you have essentially a research chemical form of DMT that is modified and essentially untested, except that you were using the blueprint given to you by the student. So maybe he's used it before, maybe not. But for you, this is like a new synthesis of DMT.
All right. Do I know what 1 dose is?
You can only assume, based on your chemical knowledge, that the potency would be somewhere equivalent to pure DMT. But you can't be sure if it's going to be stronger, weaker, last longer, or less long. If you wanted, you could try to analyze it further to get more information. But a reasonable estimate would be it would be more or less similar to pure DMT.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to create a small light bulb pipe, and I'm going to test out 35 milligrams of this liquid by oil burning it.
Okay. You actually remember that, you do have a DMT pipe somewhere in your office. If you want, you can just use like your traditional oil burner pipe. You don't have to create a new one.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So you rummage through some of your, coffee stained papers and your empty bottles and various things that, occupy your desk. And you eventually find your discarded DMT pipe, your little oil burner type pipe, and you recover it as well as a torch type lighter. So you know how you can use this if you want to smoke the DMT.
Yeah, so I load 35 milligrams, so a large dose of this research chemical DMT into the oil burner. I sit on my wheelie chair that is still wet from my grandson's adventure before, and I smoke it and I put the pipe down.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and roll, let's say, a Constitution roll? Probably would make sense. So whatever your Constitution score is, or stamina score, roll that many D10.
Okay, I have 1 stamina. So we'll roll
Also, do you have a willpower rating?
Yeah, I have a 5 willpower.
Okay. So you can also at times substitute a failed roll by expending a point of willpower, right? So let's say you tried to do a certain thing, like you could burn a willpower point to overcome a failed roll in some cases, just so you know.
Cool. Okay.
All right, so roll your d10.
Yeah, so I missed, but I'll use a willpower.
All right, what did you roll?
I rolled 2.
2. All right. Well, so basically, what you're trying to do here is smoke this harsh plastic tasting vapor, and your older man lungs are struggling a bit with the harshness of it. So you're starting to cough, but you burn 1 willpower point, and you steal your will, and you suck back this vapor for the additional 3 to 4 hits, and everything turns inside out, upside down, and so forth. So at first, the vision around you becomes like hyper fractally colored, right? And there's an onrushing of just kind of fluorescent strobe light effects forming geometric patterns and shapes and colors also quickly that you can't even really understand what you're seeing, but it's like rainbow colored infrastructure, pyramids made of rainbows, spiraling fractals, all rushing towards like a central port of your vision, from like the periphery of your vision to the middle. And it almost reaches like a critical mass in the center of kind of coiling information images. And then ultimately that kind of opens a portal. You know what I mean? Now you're going to have to roll an additional roll here. Do you have any points in spirit?
In spirit, I don't think I have spirit written down on this page.
As a sphere, one of your spheres?
No, I don't have the spirit sphere.
How about mind? You have
I
mind?
do have mind sphere, yeah.
All right. So if you want, right, you are advanced enough to know in your experience that you can use this opportunity to try and go into what's called the Umbra. So in this world, alongside the physical world, is a spiritual world that always overlays the physical world. And it's divided into the near Umbra and the far Umbra. So when you enter the Umbra, it's like the astral realm. The werewolves call it the Umbra, but it's a good term. So the near Umbra is a reflection of the world we live in, where all the psychic resonance and so forth of objects and people takes form in this near Umbra. And the far Umbra is like the deep spiritual dimension that shamans and dreamwalkers go to. So if you want to attempt to enter the Umbra through the shamanic experience, you can do so. Or if you want, you can just allow the drug trip to play out as it normally would. But if
I rolled a 4, but I'm gonna also expend a willpower to go into the Umbra, so I'm down to 3 willpower now.
Okay, well, I'm gonna allow you to re-roll your mind roll with that willpower point, and also you're gonna have to burn a point of quintessence as well, because this is now magic.
So roll D10.
You've already lost 1 point. You've already lost 1 point of quintessence. But for an additional point of willpower, you can take one more attempt to roll 7 or higher on a mind roll.
I rolled an 8. I rolled again.
You rolled an 8. All right. So you're trying to take advantage of this psychedelic experience to launch your consciousness out of the simple drug experience and into the spiritual world called the Umbra. And at first, you're finding yourself overwhelmed by all these colors and patterns, and you just want to look at it, and you're not able to click into your meditative state. But you gather your willpower, and you focus, and you exert your magical ability of mind, using your own mind as a gateway or a launching point into the near Umbra. And because you got 1 success there, you managed to enter the near Umbra. So now you kind of step outside of your body, right? You're lying back in your chair, from an outsider's perspective, comatose, head back, drooling a little bit, eyes closed. But you now step out of your body into a luminous form. So you still resemble yourself. And again, what's your first name again? Cedric Sanchez. So you still resemble Cedric Sanchez, but you're now in like a luminous, ethereal, astral form. And you step out into an area that still resembles your garage, but all the proportions are weird. Some walls look cavernously huge. things are shifting and moving. The walls are breathing and pulsating. There's like a rainbow type kind of sheen on everything. And everything's kind of charged with a strange atmosphere of menace almost. Not menace, but just like ominousness or just something is just loaded with potential meaning that you don't quite understand. You also notice that, kind of hovering over the holographic quantum interface machine that connects you with increasingly poor signal to Galactic MIT, you notice, a strange, luminous white, figure kind of shifting, appears to have kind of tentacle type appendages about the size of, a small child, and it's hovering about a foot or two above the interface device, and its little white tentacles are just kind of writhing in the air. Doesn't appear to have any eyes or face that you can see, but you sense that it is aware of you.
I reach out my mind and I say hello to this entity.
The entity, immediately reacts to your conscious probe, and all of its little tentacles kind of align, pointed towards you, as though it's kind of sensing your vibrations, moving its little feelers up and down, trying to figure out what your intentions are. You can tell that it's now very much alerted to you, but that's all you can tell.
I step closer to the entity and I ask what its intentions are.
You receive sort of a blinking white and black strobe entering into your mind, and you realize it is attempting to communicate with you, but not in any language that you're capable of understanding. So if you want, you could attempt to roll perhaps perception plus occult, or you could perhaps use another exertion of your mind magic to attempt to make some sense of what this entity is trying to communicate to you.
Perception plus occult sounds good. I'll roll 5d10s. One success.
Okay. So all that you're able to deduce is a repeated message of warning and caution, as though this entity is trying very hard to warn you about some kind of threat or some kind of danger. It seems urgent in this task, but all you're receiving is this sort of black and white strobe light type effect, like a Morse code almost. And all you're able to get is this sense of urgent warning.
Okay, I use my mind sphere to attempt to absorb the consciousness of this entity into my consciousness to understand it fully.
Okay, so again, burn 1 point of quintessence and roll 1d10.
Oh shit, I just rolled dip. Roll d10. I got a 6. I'm going to use a willpower to succeed.
All right, so you can burn 1 willpower. You're trying to make a connection. You feel like you are almost connecting with this entity. Your concentration wavers. Everything becomes hazy, indistinct. You almost feel like you might snap out of the umbra. But again, you focus your willpower. You exert your willpower. So you are going to have to roll another dice, though. It's not going to give you an instant success.
3.
So again, what you're able to deduce with this partial mind contact that you almost made is that this entity is paired to the quantum interface device, and it actually is part of the device, but you're only seeing it now in the spiritual sense because this technology is, not human technology. And so essentially this is some kind of a lesser spirit who is actually paired with this quantum interface technology. And his warning, you realize, is one and the same as the garbled transmission that you were receiving partially. So again, you receive some impression of a map that was shown to you earlier. It comes to you as a memory, a series of blinking red spots superimposed over a holographic image of the greater Vancouver Cascadia region. And you are able to recognize one of those red dots as being on the Riverwalk, a second one being in the region known as the Lights. And you remember there was a third one, but before you can remember it, the kind of vision fades away. And with it, the entity seems to kind of retreat away from you and kind of fade. You can still perceive it there, but it's somehow behind a layer of obfuscation where you can no longer really feel its presence.
Okay. So, am I still in the trip?
You are still in the trip, as visualized or as you can see by the shifting colors and the rainbow patterns. But beyond just being quote unquote in the trip, you are now in the near umbra as well. So you are now an out of body experience, no longer in your physical form.
Is there any occult magic that I can do specifically now that I'm in the Umbra?
I mean, anything is possible, my friend. You must only have a vision of what you want to attempt and a skill set that allows you to attempt it.
Okay, I want to roll something to try to use the Umbra to point me towards a power source for my android that would be suitable for it, that is already in creation or near creation. So I could roll like perception and investigation or perception and occult to see if I can find something like that.
And I'm sorry, what is it you're attempting to find or do?
I'm trying to find a power source for my android. I'm trying to see if there's anything that's already out there that matches like its like occult sort of energy matrix.
Well, what are your spheres of magic again?
Forces, time, mind, and correspondence.
All right. Well, you have correspondence. That's good. So you could attempt to do a basic divination with a correspondence of 1. You can attempt to do a basic divination. So roll correspondence 1. Burn 1 quintessence, and you can attempt to read sort of the etheric patterns of the Umbra combined with your own translocal psychic powers to sort of scan your immediate and nearby vicinity for any kind of augurs, meaning divinatory clues.
Critical success.
Sorry?
I got a 10, critical success.
Critical success. All right. So as you're kind of scanning both your mind and your environment, your mind settles on 2 things, right? 1, a memory comes to you, kind of forceful but unbidden, of the gentleman, or rather the ruffian, under the bridge on the Riverwalk who said, don't come back here after dark. This isn't the place for you. And that memory comes back to you. And secondarily, you again, brighter and more urgent, you see the lights, right? The region of the city known as the lights, kind of blinking again on some kind of astral map in your mind. And you read these subtle resonances and you realize that whatever it is you're seeking, there's probably some thread connecting it to one or both of these places.
Okay. So I guess it's around 6 o'clock at this point. I wait out the trip. So I guess I sit back and I meditate. I enjoy the fractal imagery until I'm able to feel my body again and leave the Umbra. And I wake up.
All right, so you witness the spiraling, fractal, rainbow, holographic visual displays, and you allow yourself to go along with this, and you lay back down into your physical body. You feel and hear a sensation like a vibration, like a gong, a metal gong struck by a bell. It was whine. And you feel your astral body reintegrating into your physical body. The rest of the trip fades away in a spectacular kaleidoscope of imagery. You see sort of evolutionary things, cells dividing, blood vessels pumping blood, neurons pumping electricity, some kind of fractal web like a spider web. And then all of a sudden, your eyes open, you're lying on the leather chair, and you're back in the garage, and you have only sort of the energized feeling like you just drank an energy drink, but you're now sober.
Well, realizing the potential implications of this drug, I pour a shot of my fine bourbon and I down it back quickly as I create an aerosol can-based drug weapon out of the remaining DMT analog.
Okay, so if you want to create an aerosol-based DMT vapor pepper spray weapon of sorts,
Yeah.
you're going to have to roll some combination of some kind of crafting or technology or science skill with probably intelligence.
So intelligence plus science, so 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Two success.
2 successes?
Yeah.
All right. So you take a basic aerosol can, for nitrous dispensing, and you manage to aerosolize the vial of DMT, and you basically create the equivalent of a DMT pepper spray. As long as this makes contact with someone's, eyes or nose or mouth, you can predict that they're going to probably have a pretty intense trip. You estimate there's probably enough sprays in this to discharge maybe 3 or 4, massive doses of DMT.
All right. Let's I do
And
have
write that character sheet if you have one. Just make a note that you now have this DMT pepper spray.
This is pretty cool. Okay. I do have you said 3 hits?
I mean, it's going to depend on how long you press the discharger and how much of it you spray. But you estimate you could gas a whole, group of people probably 3 times.
Oh Jesus! So times 3 for the whole room. So I guess I get a mask for myself, something that'll function to save myself in the situation that I use this in a vacuum in an inside place.
Yeah, I mean, you dig through one of your old military chests from a long lost adventure, and you recover an old school, World War I or II era, gas mask with 1 canister of, compressed oxygen.
All right. So I put on do I have a jacket or something large that I could put on for night for?
You have a generic brown trench coat of sorts.
All right, let's put on my trench coat. Let's arm myself with my crossbow, my DMT pepper spray. Let's also take. Can I do? Could I? Is my? I guess yeah. I couldn't take the robot with me, but I know what I need to do work on the robot. So yeah, let's take my crossbow. Let's take my DMT pepper spray. Put that inside of my trench coat here. Put my knife inside my trench coat so I could get it easily. Can I also create some form of can I roll to create some form of brass knuckles that would increase my punch?
I mean, you could attempt to create a set of brass knuckles. You definitely have the equipment to do basic, metallurgy. So you could be fairly simple to make a knuckle duster out of just a piece of iron or metal.
Yeah, let's make a knuckle duster. Let's make a knuckle duster and let's see if my roll gets high enough. Let's try to make it electrocute somebody. Let's see if I can charge it up with like some form of battery and make it a taser as well that does an extra. Let's see if I can get that. What would I roll to do that? Probably
to do what exactly? You want to make a brass knuckles?
Yeah, I want to make brass knuckles, but I also want to try to make them electrocuting if I can.
Well, okay. So, what is your closest skill? Do you have crafting, anything along those lines?
I have one in craft, so I have craft and intelligence.
You have 1 craft and intelligence. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
so roll that as many dice as that gives you.
5. So roll 5d10. Holy shit! I got 5 successes.
5 successes, critical success. Okay. So as you're working, you have a flash of inspiration. You think maybe the residual DMT is giving you some creativity. So you go through some of your compressed electronic circuitry from an old communication device and you rip it out and, just kind of going on instinct, you solder that onto a set of brass knuckles. You take rubber latex and you spray it using a little spray device from your kit over the part that your fingers go on, so that the electrical shock will not electrocute you. You insulate the part that you hold, and you put little spikes on the tips of the brass knuckle that will essentially funnel the electricity into anybody that you hit with. This will essentially receive not only the punch, but also a jolt of electricity equivalent to a stun gun.
Awesome. I'm just drawing a little picture of one of these with batteries. So now I've got these two. Okay, I don't feel like a complete asshat walking into a place at night anymore. So let's head over to the place. You said the lights were another place that I might find a power source.
Pardon me? The lights are a place that was indicated to you when you did your divination. So you don't know exactly what that means. All you know is that some kind of occult energy is indicating to you that that's one of two places that you might want to pursue in this, whatever you're looking for.
Let's use whatever power source things I have with the Android currently, and let's try to create some sort of energy sucking device that I could use on anything that I find with enough power. So can I roll intelligence and crafting to see if I can create something like that?
To create what, sorry?
Like some sort of battery that could suck up occult energy if I find something powerful enough?
I mean, you do have the understanding to create some kind of energy storage matrix. How it would apply to any given source of energy will depend, but you do know enough to make a basic etheric battery.
All right, let's do that. We're intelligence and crafting. Let's do the same roll to see that while I'm in my garage. So I got 4 successes.
With 5 rolls?
Yeah.
Okay. 4 successes with 5 rolls. So you take a liquid crystal holographic circuit, matrix, and you implant it into a piece of pure quartz, polished pure quartz, and you shape it into a cylinder, and you coat it in electrum using the last of your refined metals that you have in your laboratory. And what you end up with is about twice the size of a big, thick Duracell battery, a quartz matrix in the middle, wrapped in electrum with a little quantum circuit inside. If you find an appropriate source of energy, you could definitely store a charge in this.
Okay, so let's use some of my money and take the bus and go to the closest location I can that I found in the lights towards this battery source.
All right, so you walk somewhat unsteadily as it's been stressful.
Oh, did I bring my whiskey? Can I bring my whiskey too?
Yeah, you make sure to put your fancy bottle of premier, cognac whiskey into your trench coat in a flask that you carry for this purpose. Engraved with your initials, Cedric Sanchez, SS. Inside the inner pocket of your jacket, and you walk to the nearest bus stop. It's a sunny day. It's now about 6 or 7. It's actually about 7 p.m. now because you've been working for a couple hours. You're very quick, of course, but still took at least 2 hours to do all this work. In fact, it took 3. So we'll say it's now 8 o'clock. 1 hour for the DMT aerosol vial, 1 hour for the brass knuckles, and 1 hour for the battery.
Yeah.
So it's now 8 o'clock and the sun is nearing the horizon. You see a few seagulls wheeling lazily overhead. Go ahead and roll a perception check. Just your perception roll.
No success.
Right. You get a strange feeling about the seagulls, but you assume you're probably just being paranoid and having a little bit of a residual, delusion or of something from the drugs, and you shake it off as the seagulls wheel overhead. And you notice a few cars drive by. First there's just a blue, sedan. Then there's a red, Austin Mini. It's got the little open sports car. And there's a fat man with a short, salt and pepper beard and a bald head. And he looks at you, and he seems to have some kind of animosity. Like he looks at you with anger or hatred in his eyes, and kind of slows down as he passes you. And then when he passes you, he accelerates and, tears off, like intentionally revs his engine and like rips off as quickly as he can once he gets past you. You don't recognize the man. You don't recognize his car. Maybe he was just trying to show off. You're not sure. Anyways, about a minute later, the city bus pulls up, and there's a sick man with a black beard and a turban, and he looks at you, and waits for you to board the bus. And you board the bus. You put your tokens or your coins in. And you enter. There's about 10 people on the bus, nondescript-looking people. You do notice a man in the back, pale, young, very pale face, wearing a black trench coat with black hair. Looks like he might even be wearing some kind of white makeup and black eyeliner. And he looks at you with like a weird kind of sullen petulance is the only way you could say it. He's sitting in the very back left corner. Nobody else pays you any mind.
Okay. So I sit in the very front of the bus. I get a seat closer to the front, and I set up a recorder to watch this man in the back seat and see what he does without looking back at him, very, very casually.
You sit beside the man? Is that what you said?
No, I said I sit closer to the front of the bus, and I set up a camera to watch the guy. Like maybe I put my phone in front of me, and I record him from behind as like.
Well, you can't record him from behind if you're sitting at the front of the bus, but you could point your phone or camera at him while you're sitting in the front of the bus. He may or may not notice that, but
Sure,
you could.
Okay, let's sit for a little bit. Let's sit for a couple minutes, and like whenever he's let's try to like take a picture of him. Let's really quick zoom in on him and take a picture and see if he doesn't notice or whatever.
Okay, so you want to take a covert picture of the goth-looking guy at the back of the bus?
Yeah.
All right, I guess you're going to roll dexterity plus subterfuge for that.
I don't have any subterfuge, so I have one dexterity. Why would it be subterfuge?
Subterfuge is any kind of like stealth, sleight of hand, secrecy, deception. So anytime you're trying to do something sneaky or covert, subterfuge is often going to be that role.
Okay, I got a 3.
Okay, so you position your camera, trying to look nonchalant, looking away. But as you look over, you notice the man is now looking at you with visible suspicion and kind of staring at your camera. He seems to notice something unusual, but he's just kind of scowling at you.
But I do get a picture of him?
Yeah, you're able to take a picture of the whole bus, including him. Yeah.
Okay, so I zoom in on his face. I sit back so he doesn't approach me or anything, right? So I zoom in on his face, I crop that image out, and I do a search on the internet for his face.
You do a reverse internet search. I guess go ahead and do a computer roll. Computer plus intelligence.
Okay. Two, three, four, five successes.
Okay. So you pretty quickly bring up a series of hits, and pretty much all of them come from a Facebook page called the Dakma of Angra Mainyu. And it's a lot of fairly cringy images of goth people with, upside down pentagram, pentacles around their neck, wearing eyeshadow and white makeup and black robes, doing all kinds of weird shit with black candles and what appears to be menstrual blood and pouring menstrual blood onto statues of the Virgin Mary and a whole bunch of kind of blasphemous and weird shit. It seems to be some kind of satanic group that's operating in your city.
And this guy, I find images of this guy on this page as well, obviously.
yeah, so you see him there as one of the people amidst this group, right? So there'll be a group of people, sometimes two at an altar, sometimes four or five around some kind of a pentacle or table, different scenarios, but his face appears in several of these pictures in this group page.
I look deeper into the pages and the comments, and I do an analyst towards figuring out what I can about this group.
You want to analyze the group or research the group?
Yeah.
All right. You could roll an occult roll plus perhaps perception. That might be one way, unless you have some kind of research skill.
Yeah, occult plus perception should work. That's 5. I got 2 successes and 1 failure. I got 1 success.
Okay, so a quick review of your occult knowledge reminds you that Angra Mainyu is one of the original, if not the original, name of Satan, deriving from Zoroastrian religion. This is like a prime evil. Before even the concept of Satan existed, this was the original enemy of God. And the Dogma is like a cult or a sect. So what you have here is the sect or cult of the prime evil, basically. And this group appears to be engaged in blasphemy for its own sake and have a theistic, satanic view in which, Satan in this sense is real, and they have aligned themselves with him.
Okay. So I'm still on the bus at this point, yes? Obviously. Okay.
You are still on the bus. You've left the village. You're heading along the central strip, past the strip towards the upscale nightclub, art gallery, museum, and sort of high society, high culture area of your city called the Lights, which is usually frequented by either wealthy trust fund university students, the beautiful people, celebrities, and high society, art nouveau type people. This is sort of the classy, fancy pants part of your town. And you enter that through sort of a marble type gateway that the bus passes along. You start passing the boutique shops, fancy dress shops and clothing shops and jewelry shops and new age crystal and so forth shops, and then you enter the Lights proper. And the Lights is called that because there's these sort of beautiful lanterns that have been built by the city with big, orb type lights hanging everywhere, giving it all kind of like a lit up, bright, magical type appearance, especially as the night starts falling and the beautiful people start coming out. You see couples holding hands and dressed to the nines, strolling from the restaurant to the bar, or from shopping to a cafe.
Okay. So I'm gonna take a tiny bit of my DMT pepper spray, like a very small amount, not like a whole spray, and I'm gonna rip a small piece of my clothing off and spray it into that clothing and put that in an easily accessible place in my trench coat. And then I'm going to, so I guess I have like 2.8 sprays left. So we'll say that. So I take that and I also hold on to that. I put that in one pouch, and then I put my hand into my pocket where my knife is, and I sit next to the person in the back of the bus, and I ask him why people like him have been told to look out for me.
So I'm sorry. Tell me exactly the action you're taking here.
So the action is I spray some of my DMT pepper spray into a ripped off piece of my cloth, so 0.2 of a spray, enough for one person. And then I put that into my pocket. I put my hand on my knife, and then I walk to the back of the bus, sit next to the guy, and ask him why people like him have been told to watch out for me.
All right. So as you walk towards the guy, he immediately shows a sign of kind of alarm. He's been watching you and he sees you approaching. He looks, visibly, kind of suspicious as you approach, and you notice his left hand kind of slide back into his own black trench coat into one of the pockets. And he kind of shuffles over and turns towards you with his back against the kind of metal of the bus thing. And you sit and you ask him why he's watching you. and he just kind of stares at you with like lizard-like eyes. You notice he doesn't appear to have any kind of colored ring around his eyes. He just seems to have a big black pupil in the middle of his white eyes. You don't see any iris, and he looks at you with kind of reptilian suspicion and disgust. And he kind of sneers, and he doesn't initially answer you.
Okay, can I use a mind sphere to see if I can get him to just tell me some things?
You could definitely try to mind control him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to mind control him with a mind sphere, and I might end up using a willpower. I'm gonna have to use a quintessence. Yeah, I'll take one off, but I might end up using a willpower to roll this again. So I'm gonna roll the 1d10 to try to mind control him. That's a 3. Okay, I'm gonna waste a willpower and another. I don't need another quintessence. I don't think. So I'm gonna roll this again, and I got a critical failure. Damn. Okay.
Okay. So you attempt to reach out into his mind and create like a telepathic connection to get him to tell you what you want. But when you reach into his mind, you're confronted with a strange, like flashing, terrifying image of like coiling tentacles and bright red, hateful eyes that kind of burn with, a hatred right into your soul. It's some kind of etheric vision that you have of this hostile coiling thing that's somehow inside his mind. And when you try to reach into his mind, you run into this alien presence that seems to have kind of replaced where his mind should be. And you're so caught off guard by this that you're shaken, right? You're emotionally shaken. And so you're going to suffer a -1 resolve penalty to any future rolls until this disquiet passes.
Like a whole failure, or just -1 on, like, if I roll a 7, it's actually a 6.
Yeah, -1. So if you
Yeah.
roll 7, it comes to 6 for as long as this disquiet is on you, because the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up. Your hands are a little bit shaky, and you now feel uncomfortable. Anyways, he turns towards you and he bares his teeth, and you notice that he has filed his teeth, in the old school way that some African tribes do, into points. He actually has fangs, not like a vampire. All his front teeth have been sharpened into little needle-like points, and he just smiles at you in a menacing way. And you notice that he has his hand kind of in his pocket, and it's possible he may be holding some kind of weapon. You're not sure.
Okay. That wasn't my first plan anyway. I take my DMT powder cloth and I put it over his mouth, and I hold it over his nose and mouth as rapidly as I can.
Okay, so you're gonna have to roll dexterity plus brawl probably to attempt this physical, maneuver to put it over his face. So go ahead and roll dexterity. Probably is the only roll you have.
Yeah, dexterity and brawl. That's 2.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna roll this again with willpower. I don't want to die on this bus.
How many willpower do you have left?
2.
And how many quintessence do you have?
2.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna re-roll your 2 dice.
Yeah. Okay, I got a 9 and a 1, so I got an 8 and a 0.
You got a 9 and a 1. Okay, so you got 1 success canceled by 1 failure. So you reach towards him with the cloth in your hand and try and put it over his mouth, but he, surprisingly quickly, with his skinny, pale, bony arms, grabs onto your wrists with both hands, and he with surprising strength, he's kind of snarling at you and grabs you by both wrists, and he manages to hold this cloth away from his own mouth, so you're not able to put it on him. And you end up in kind of an arm wrestle situation where the two of you have, he's got your both wrists and both of his hands, and you're engaged in some kind of contest of strength now. And you notice also that, the people around you are turning around and looking at you with some alarm. And there's a little bit of a murmur of disquiet coming up from the bus as this is playing out. So now you're going to have an opposed roll. So you're going to roll your strength against his strength. His strength is only 1, as I believe yours is probably.
Mine is 2.
Yours is 2. Okay. So he's going to roll 1d10 because he's a skinny dude. And you're going to roll 2. And whoever gets the most successes is going to win. But remember, you're now suffering a -1 on every roll that you get, whereas he's going to be receiving a +1 because of this strange power that's inside his skinny frame.
Okay.
So,
are you gonna roll? Are you gonna roll a d10?
yeah, I'm going to roll a d10.
Okay.
You're going to roll 2d10.
Yeah. Shit.
So you got a 5 and a 1. He got a 4. So you get a critical failure, and he gets no successes. So your resolve has failed you. Your arms kind of feel like jelly, and he's actually able to, force the cloth that you were trying to put over his mouth. He actually pushes it onto yours, perhaps intuiting that it's some kind of chloroform or something. And he holds it over your face, as you're struggling to resist them, and the people around you are starting to stand up and kind of move away from you on the bus. And you try and hold your breath, but at a certain point, you have to take a breath in, and you feel almost instantly, the effects of the DMT hitting you. So you start seeing, a kaleidoscopic vortex open up on the top of the bus. And all of a sudden, there's like wheeling entities that look kind of like angels or demons. They each have somewhere between 4 to 6 wings. Some of them have multiple faces. You see beings with the face of an eagle, the face of a bull, the face of a man, or some of them have 3 or 4 faces that are kind of shifting, and they're all wheeling overhead. And pretty soon you forget, what's going on, where you are, and you're just watching this crazy spiral of these entities wheeling overhead, and everything's kind of going into black and white, and you're kind of losing consciousness, and all you find yourself on is on this strange upward vortex up through this portal of spirits. And at a certain point, everything kind of goes black, or rather, you are so overwhelmed by sensation that you don't really know what's going on, and everything fades to black. Now, the next thing you realize, you are outside of the bus. You are lying on your back in your trench coat on the sidewalk, and the bus is just visible, in the far distance, turning the corner. You seem to have been ejected from the bus, although you can't say how this has occurred, and you're now waking up on your back somewhere in the Lights District. You see a couple restaurants and so forth nearby with their windows open, and people inside eating, and on the patios smoking cigarettes. And some people are looking at you with a mixture of kind of pity or disgust or confusion as you wake up on the concrete outside on the sidewalk.
Okay, well, I meet the eye of somebody who's looking at me with disgust, and I say, "You should have seen the other guy." And then I laugh and say, "I guess you did see the other guy." And I I guess I dust myself off. I've done this before. I dust myself off, and I continue towards my destination, where I found the energy source, or where I think that is.
Well, all the energy source told you was to come to the lights, and you are now in the lights, right? This is a district of your city, and it's a district full of art galleries, museums, fancy restaurants, boutique stores. This is where the well-to-do people come to play and to shop. But beyond that, you don't have any further guidance at this point.
Can I roll like occult and perception to see if I can sense anything strong?
You could certainly attempt to, and if there's anything in this area of an occult nature or an unusual nature, you would potentially be able to pick it up.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can do that if you want.
5d10. I got 2 successes and 2 failures, and 1 6. Like
2 successes and 1 failure.
Yeah, I got a 9, 7, and a 1 and a 1, and then a 6.
Right. So you look around, attempting to deduce if anything here has an occult or spiritual resonance. And all you're able to see is that out of the one couple walking by, they're walking like a white furred like dog, like a very like long, elegant looking dog. Looks like some kind of expensive, fancy breed of dog with a long, thin nose. And you notice that around that dog's neck is hanging an amulet, and on that amulet is a magical square, which you recognize as a planetary sigil. So it represents the spiritual energies of Saturn, and that's an unusual thing you notice to have around a dog's collar. And they're walking deeper into the lights towards where the art galleries and museums are. They're walking past you, but the dog kind of looks at you when you do this, and you notice this, and it kind of looks knowingly in your eyes as it passes by. The second thing you notice is that directly across the street is a nightclub of sorts. During the day, it's a coffee shop and a bar, but at night it becomes more of a nightclub. And you notice that over the door of that nightclub is a carving of an owl. And it's a particular sort of stylized owl that you recognize as the Owl of Minerva, representing wisdom in the Roman kind of religion. Those are the only two triggers you pick up on. You can't say if they mean anything or not, though.
Okay, so since I know where this bar is, let's follow the dog and the couple.
All right, so you begin following behind the couple. It's a pretty woman with blonde hair, wearing sort of a red dress with straps, showing her shoulders and upper part of her body. She looks like she's probably about 30 years old. The man looks older, maybe about 40 or 45. He's well dressed in a suit. She's got her high heels on. You can tell they're wealthy. She's got like a Prada red purse hanging at her side, and they're engaged in conversation, but they're far enough ahead of you that you can't hear what they're saying. And they seem to be taking their dog for a walk. And as you're passing, the trees and the boulevards and the young people and the older people enjoying their evening, and night is beginning to fall, you can kind of feel the energy of the lights picking up. Everybody knows that the leisurely shopping hours are coming to an end, and pretty soon the party side of the lights is going to come out as some of the stores start, turning into nightclubs at night and so forth. And you're following them towards where you can see, the marble buildings of the art galleries, and in particular the, Greater Cascadia Museum of Arts and the Fine Arts Center of Greater Vancouver, which are the two big cultural centers in your city. They're coming up kind of the heart of the Lights District. At this point, it's twilight, and you can tell the night is falling, basically. It's the last hour or so of dim twilight.
Well, can I roll to see if I notice anything again?
You can. Yeah. But I mean, notice something of what kind? Like if you just want to check a perception check to see if you pick up anything, then that would just be perception. If you want to do a particular kind of investigation, then...
Well, I'm searching for my energy source, but yeah, let's just do straight perception and see if I notice anything around me right now.
Okay.
So I didn't get a success. Do I still have that debuff? Is that over now?
Sorry?
Is the debuff over now?
Yeah, your sense of unease has faded away at this point as the unknown Satanist is no longer in your presence, and whatever entity that was occupying it is also faded away from your perception.
Okay. So yeah, I got a 5 and a 4 and a 4 for a perception roll.
All right, so you search around and you look around trying to pick up on any clues about why you've been brought here, what brought you to this region, and you don't pick anything up. You don't notice anything out of the ordinary. You just notice, the young people having audios, music starting to play, the cool air of night falling, the couple ahead of you still walking towards the main buildings, the art gallery, the museum. As far as you can tell, is where they're headed. The dog is still trotting ahead of you. However, you don't need any particular sense of perception because as you stride forwards, you notice two men wearing black suits and sunglasses standing at the entrance to a building, right, that just says 777. That's the street number. And you notice all the windows are black. The door is black, reflective, and nobody's standing there except for the two guys. They look like some kind of Secret Service agents, not like normal, security guards. They're black sunglasses, black suits, short hair, and they're just kind of standing there. And as far as you can tell, they're looking at you, but it's hard to tell because of their sunglasses. But there's definitely something a little suspicious or ominous about this building, which you're passing by in a few steps.
Oh shit! I thought I was unmuted. Sorry. Maybe I put my knuckle dusters on and I walk up to these two guys. I ask what's inside and if I can go in.
They tell you that you absolutely cannot get in, right? And as you approach, they kind of fold their arms and step to block your way, right? And they don't ask you for identification or anything, but they tell you this area is closed to the public. They don't tell you anything else.
Okay, I knuckle duster electrocute both of them and walk inside.
You're going to try and hit both of them with one swing of your knuckle duster?
Well, it's a pretty powerful machine, so I think I can electrocute both guys, yeah.
Okay. I mean, realistically, you can only attack one of them at a time. If you do indeed wish to swing your knuckle duster at one of them, you can do so. If you want to try and hit them both, well, maybe if you roll enough successes on your attack, you might be able to pull that off.
Yeah, okay. Let's do it. Let's see if I can force my way inside. How dangerous do you think this is?
Well, let's look at it from a real world frame, right? So it's evening in an upscale area, so other people will see this happen.
You're right.
You're an old man, and they both appear to be professional security guards of some kind. You're not a trained martial artist or fighter, and even if you were, fighting two people at once is difficult. So this is breaking the fourth wall, but this would probably be a fairly high risk maneuver.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's step back. Let's take note of this area and walk into the art gallery. Then let's bid these two guys fair due.
Okay, so you back off, sensing an unmistakable aura of danger around these two men. You sense that they can carry themselves in a dangerous manner, and you sense they may be carrying weapons. So you decide to not push your luck, and you turn away. Now you notice that the couple that you were following are now entering the gardens and courtyard outside of the Cascadia Gallery of Fine Arts, and there seems to be some kind of a gala going on, which is not uncommon here. Some kind of famous artist is on display. There's some kind of night event, and there's someone checking tickets or taking admission, and the young couple clearly are known here as they don't even have to show anything. They walk past the line, past the guards, and right inside. There's a short line outside the art gallery, and on the other side of the street is the museum, the cultural museum. So these are the two big, center of the lights. Right in the very heart of the lights, past the nightclubs and restaurants and stores that you passed, you come to the famous and prestigious art gallery and the famous and prestigious museum, both of which are still open into the early hours as usual.
All right, so I go inside of the art gallery.
So you get in line, and there's about 3 people in front of you. Each of them presents a ticket. As you get up, the security guard asks you if you have a ticket, which you, of course, do not. He, however, indicates to you that for a price of $30, he can issue a ticket right now because you're not yet at capacity.
Yeah, sure. So I pay him $30.
All right. He takes out a device. You swipe your card. $30 is deducted from your bank account. He gives you a little piece of paper which says, Midnight Court Art Gallery or Art Exhibit, right? So it says Midnight Court Art Exhibit. You go inside, you show it to an additional security guard. He waves you in. You walk into an elaborate foyer. There's a lot of people here. They're all dressed very nicely. You notice that you kind of stand out in your brown trench coat when these people are all dressed to the nines, and jewelry and finery. There are waiters and waitresses, attractive young men and women, moving through the crowd with little trays of dainties, cheese and meat and little glasses of champagne, which people are able to take. And people are milling around, and up ahead you see, 6 big statues, all of them carved out of black marble or maybe some kind of onyx. But you're too far away to see the details, but they seem to fill the corner of this atrium or the center of it. And then there's 2 big staircases leading up on either side to higher levels of the art gallery.
Okay, let's do a perception and occult to see if I sense any energy signals in here. Let's roll 5. 9 and a 7. I got 2 successes, and then 6, 6, 5. So nothing was even below 5.
So you get 2 successes. So as you scan the room, you mostly just pick up social dilettantes, social butterflies, the normal jet set of the Vancouver, Cascadia region. You recognize a few people, the daughter of a wealthy media baron, a famous soccer player with his newest girlfriend or mistress, and a lesser film celebrity, but nothing out of the ordinary for this part of town. But you get a little bit of a tingle on the back of your neck. You feel something amiss in the force. And you look up, right? And at the top of the next staircase, you see a truly, astonishingly beautiful woman. And her skin is just white as snow. Her hair is black as midnight. She's wearing a spectacular purple dress. And she just seems to stand out from the rest of the people. Even though they're all beautiful people dressed well, she just seems to be a diamond in the rough here. And furthermore, you notice that she is quite attentively looking at you before that you noticed her. So she's standing up above you, the top of the stairs, and she appears to be observing you.
Ooh. Well, let's go up let's grab a drink first off from somebody walking around, and let's walk up the stairs sipping it and approach her. Let's grab 2 drinks actually and approach her.
You take 2 flutes of champagne from the nearest waitress, a cute girl in her own right, passing by, and she smiles and nods at you as you take the 2 champagne glasses and begin weaving your way through the crowd. And you reach the bottom of the stairs, and again, there's people everywhere. So it takes you a little while to get up the stairs, and when you do, you're confronted by a large and somewhat terrifying jade statue. It appears to be sort of like a totem pole with 3 faces, each of them kind of a demonic mask of sorts with horns and fangs and sinister eyes carved out of what appears to be one huge piece of jade. Where the woman was, however, she is now gone. There's people admiring the statue, talking, and you sense a kind of a strange emptiness, like a strange sense that like something isn't quite right. That's all you can say. But the woman is no longer visible.
Can I look around for her, or is she's gone forever? What else is around here?
You look around, so there's a series of exhibits. All of them appear to be statues carved out of stone, some of them black, some of them dark green. Various people in various, fancy dress, admiring, drinking wine, looking at paintings on the wall as well. You scan through the crowd, and again, you manage to see her, right? She's at the other side of this, exhibit. And again, she's looking at you, right? And she seems to have a man with her, again, wearing what looks like some kind of security type attire. And he's just kind of looking around as though perhaps he's her bodyguard, but she's still, again, staring at you from across the hall.
Okay, so I try to meet her eyes, and I'm still holding two drinks like a doofus, aren't I? So I try to meet her gaze and walk towards her.
You walk towards her and you notice her smile, but it's a half smile. So the left side of her mouth rises in a smile, but the other side remains implacable. So it becomes something like a curious smirk. But she holds your gaze and stares at you essentially as you cross the floor, trying not to spill any of the drink on yourself. And pretty soon you find yourself standing in front of her. And again, you're struck by the fact that this is arguably the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. You can't quite put your finger on it, but she almost appears to shine somehow in a way that you can't quite explain. Her eyes, again, seem to have big black pupils, but unlike the guy on the bus, these don't seem sinister or dark. They're like pools that you find yourself staring into. So you almost forget to say anything. You realize you've just been standing in front of her with your mouth open, and she's still looking at you with this perplexed smile. And she says, Mr. Sanchez, I've heard so much about you. It's a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance. And she holds out her hand with sort of a limp wrist, as though she's some kind of princess expecting you to perhaps kiss her hand, or you're not sure what she wants, but she's holding her hand out towards you with her hand held down in a limp kind of gesture, like that you can deign to greet her.
I I laugh. And I say, I wrote those books while I was drunk, if anything, and I put one of the drinks I have into her hand. I shove it into her hand and make her take it.
You hand one of the glasses to her, and she takes it and looks at it somewhat incredulously, but smiles and nods politely, and says, "Is this your first time in our gallery, sir?"
I say it's not, but it's my first time in a long time, and I ask her if she's somehow involved in this fine arts gallery.
She smiles politely, and you almost sense that she's trying not to sort of laugh derisively. And she says, "Yes, my family has owned this art gallery for several generations."
Owned? I say, wow, what is her interest in me then if she's doing so well on her own?
She kind of chuckles again and replies, "Oh, a man like you has a tendency to create a reputation that precedes him. Not much happens in the city that I'm not aware of, and someone like you would certainly not go beneath my notice for long."
I say, well, my trip to the university was simply to see a friend, if that's what you're referring to. And I ask her if there's anything she needs help with, as whenever anyone says they like my work, it's because they know how smart I am.
She says, "Oh, we'll have plenty of time to talk business, sir, but tonight is a very special exhibit. A very talented young artist from the far north. He created this art during 36 days of darkness when the sun does not rise above the, Arctic tundra." She gestures towards a huge painting on the wall, the size of perhaps three people standing and three people laying down, huge tapestry. And she says, "Tell me, what do you think of this piece? It's called The Horror of Midnight." And you examine the painting, and you notice that it appears to be on the upper quarter, sort of a black, smoky background with like a red horizon as though it's on fire. And then there seems to be a cloud of ghouls and demons and skeletons on the left and the right. And they seem to be kind of pitchforking and driving a bunch of naked, terrified humans off a cliff and down into a gaping, cavernous, demonic mouth. And the people are kind of falling terrified in a sort of a waterfall of terror and flesh into the mouth of this gaping hellmouth. And you realize it's quite a hideous and terrifying painting, but very well done.
Huh. Well, I note the artist's fine work, and being 60 years old, I make an off comment about Israel regarding the people being knocked off of the cliff. And I ask what the artist's intentions were.
She kind of looks at you thoughtfully and looks back at the painting, and she says, I wouldn't dream to speak for Darius. He is a unique talent, and he expresses his own unique vision. But what I read is the essentially futile nature of human hope. All of these people at one time hoped to be reconciled to God. They hoped to be found acceptable in that final day of judgment. But as you can see, all of those hopes are utterly futile when faced with the truth of our own damnation.
Our own damnation. Let the damned be damned, I say, and let the damned rejoice. And I finish my drink.
She says, indeed, let the dead bury their own dead, as Jesus said. I suppose the damned may weep for the damned. But for some, damnation is a thought of the future, and the night is still young. She turns and says, follow me, Mr. Sanchez. And she turns and begins walking up the steps. And again, you see that the back of her, fairly extravagant purple gown is open. And although you wouldn't normally be so affected by a woman, in your jaded old age, you can't help but feel stunned by her aesthetic beauty. Again, it's almost as though there's something supernatural about it that you can't quite put your finger on. And you find yourself following her without even a choice, like a puppy following its owner. And also the bald-headed man with the sunglasses and the plastic earpiece, wire going up to his ear, turns and follows you at your right side a few steps behind you as you follow the woman up the stairs and into a private cordoned off area that says VIP only. And she says, would you like to step into my quarters for a moment and we can talk more privately?
I tell her some privacy would be good, as this town has been making me question my own sanity lately.
She laughs, and you sense that for the first time, her laugh is sincere. All her other laughs were condescending chuckles, only to placate your awkwardness. But this appears to be an actual amusement. And she says, yes, the Cascadia region will do that to the best of us, my friend. And she smiles at you knowingly. She says, I suspect you haven't finished questioning your sanity yet. In fact, I suspect you have not truly begun to question it. She turns, and there is a crimson painted door with a golden number 1. And you notice that this is an actual golden number 1. It's made of actual gold, probably 24 karat gold. And probably this golden number 1 would cost, several $1,000s. The man steps in front of her and says, Madame, opens the door, and she passes through. You respectfully follow into a room of extraordinary opulence, crimson, velvet furniture with gold brocade, bookshelves with, red leather-bound books, a bird cage in the corner with some kind of elaborate, turquoise feathered bird that you've never seen before with the long tail feathers sitting on a golden perch. Crystal glasses sitting on a silver tray, silver decanters, all the trappings of opulence, hangings on the wall that appear to be painted by some 15th century Renaissance master. You estimate that the items in this room would be literally priceless. And she sits behind a desk of mahogany, and there's a very comfortable looking chair for you on the other side of the desk. And she indicates graciously with her perfect, alabaster hand that you may sit.
I sit down and I remark that if that door is any indication of the price of the liquor in this room, then you've definitely got my attention.
She smiles, and you notice that she hasn't had a single sip of the champagne that you put into her hand. She's holding it somewhat like she's holding politely a glass of piss. And she puts it down and reaches into her own crystal decanter on the silver tray, pulls out some kind of brown drink in a crystal decanter and pours 2 glasses and says, this is the good stuff. We don't serve this for the shall I say, the common folk down below. And she presses it into your hand, and you can almost smell, just, your alcoholic nose can smell the quality of this liquor from feet away.
Awesome. I guess I drool a little, and I feel some penis envy for the bottle and for the liquid in my pocket currently as I await my sip.
Well, do you drink? You do drink. Your willpower is low. You're an alcoholic, so without even thinking, you drink. And although you realize it's somewhat embarrassing, you're supposed to sip this drink. You realize your nerves are somewhat jangled from everything you've been through, and so you find yourself throwing the whole glass back. And she's looking at you with sort of bemusement as she has not yet taken even a sip, and you throw the whole thing back. However, the immediate warmth is like a golden ambrosia through your body, and you feel yourself restoring a point of willpower automatically as the warm liquid goes through. You can add a point of willpower back. And she smiles and says, "Ah, yes, Tour de 1905 tends to have that effect on people." And she pours you another glass and refills your empty decanter.
Oh, I turn semi-serious and look at her. I say I'm a bit more capable than she might think, and I do have some serious questions about what's been going on. And if she's a part of this, then potentially I'm not going to be as friendly leaving this room as I am that I came. And I end that with a smile of pleading look.
She looks at you seriously with an inscrutable impression. And again, you feel emotions in your heart and in your body that you honestly haven't felt since you were a much younger man. You feel like a love-drunk teenager, meeting a beautiful young girl. Like, these are feelings you have no right feeling as an old man. And yet somehow there's something about this woman. You can't place her age. I mean, for all you know, she could be 20 years old. She could be the most gorgeous 20-year-old. She could be the most gorgeous 40-year-old. There's just something timeless about her beauty. You can't put your finger on it. She could be the most perfectly preserved older woman or the most mature and beautiful younger woman. You really can't tell. All you can tell is she could be a supermodel. Surely she is a supermodel, but she's too classy or too wealthy to even need to be one. And so you find yourself kind of stammering, but she looks at you and she goes, "Tell me, Mr. Sanchez, how much do you know about the political situation in the Lights?"
How much do I know? I don't know how much I know.
I mean, you could attempt to do some kind of roll if you want to find out something.
let's do a roll because I want to know what I want to know what I know. So would that be like perception and investigation?
You could do perception and investigation, yeah, if you want to put something together.
Okay, so let's see if I can connect the Facebook page with the people who have been following me and things like that, and see if I do know anything at this point that Okay, I got 1 success and an 8.
1 success and an 8?
I got a 10, a 9, an 8, and a 1.
Okay, so the 10 and the 1 cancel, the 9 and the 8 are successes, so that's 2 successes.
Oh. Yeah, shit, sorry.
So all you can say is I know that there are 2 families of great wealth and prestige that have been competing over control of the Lights for several generations. But to be honest, this isn't really my neck of the woods. She smiles and nods. And she says, "That would be putting it in rather simplistic terms. But indeed, this city, or at least this part of the greater Cascadia region, was founded by 2 great families. One, my own, and the other, our rival, who control the museum across the street. But the question is, do you know anything about either family?" And she looks at you for a few seconds and she smiles and she says, "I can tell that you do not. But what I want to tell you is that someone like yourself could be of great use to one side of the struggle or the other. And I have always considered myself a politically savvy woman. I've had to be, living the life I've had. So although someone like you is inherently undesirable, a rogue agent, if you will, I've learned through long experience that it is better to use rogue agents than react to them. So I would like to propose a mutually beneficial arrangement to you, Mr. Sanchez.
I'm listening as I sip a huge glug of my drink.
She says, the Alyosha family, who created the Cascadia Museum of Fine Arts, has long been a thorn in my side. And for some generations, it seemed that some kind of uneasy peace might prevail in the lights. But recent events have shown that the time of passivity and diplomacy are soon coming to an end. Whether we like it or not, the night will show its claws. Indeed, it will show its fangs. And my father told me that when the time for fangs come, you should be the first one to bear yours. Because when your enemies are in your neck, your time for choice has passed. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir?
I do. And I'm going to need 5 bottles of this whiskey on top of whatever you're going to pay me. And I also need an energy source. But I will help.
She said she laughs, and it's a high laugh of music. Laugh is beautiful. It's like literally like the finest crystal champagne music you've ever heard. Her laughter. You feel like you would do anything just to make her laugh again. And she says, "You amuse me, sir. Your time frames, your interests are so parochial, and yet it's somehow sweet. You promise so much and ask so much, and yet you know so little. And yet that is exactly what I prefer in my servants." She waves her hand, and the bald man with the sunglasses goes to a, mahogany red stained cabinet and opens the gold handle and pulls out 5 crystal decanters, places them in a specially made container, as each of these glasses of alcohol or bottles of alcohol probably cost, you would estimate, thousands of dollars. And she places them all in a case, which, strangely enough, she has prepared for this purpose. 5 bottle-shaped receptacles filled with this brown crystal glasses. She seals it up almost as though it was all prepared before you had even arrived, and slides it across the table. And she says, usually, when someone sells their soul, they take time to agree to the terms. But I, for one, have no time to waste, and I appreciate your brevity. She slides it across the table to you and smiles, and she says, I speak metaphorically, of course. Don't be so superstitious. And she smiles, and you can now roll a perception check.
Okay. 9 to success.
So as she smiles, and as the night has now come to about 11 o'clock and night has fallen, you notice something with a little bit of a start, that both of her incisors, her canines, are about twice as long and twice as sharp as you would expect on any normal human being. And you're not naive enough about the world you live in to fail to put 2 and 2 together. And you realize that this woman indeed is not entirely human.
Huh. I take note of this as I finish my glass of whiskey, and I ask her about the helping me with the power source as I put my crystalline battery machine on her table with a kooky look in my eye, as I know she expects as I know she is going to respond.
She looks at the complicated crystalline device that you put on her table with a mixture of amusement and distaste, and she says, I do not trouble myself with such complex flimflammery. But if you need some assistance with mechanical subjects, I'm sure I can find some servant or designate who can help you with such things. But tonight is not a night for science, my friend, nor for business. And she stands and kind of twirls elaborately, suddenly seemingly animated, almost as if drunk, although you notice she still hasn't had a single sip of her own drink. And she says, tonight, my friend, is a night for art. We will talk business tomorrow, but please do understand, an offer of service once rendered is never recanted, at least not to my family. And she smiles. And she says, I have other business to attend to, Mr. Sanchez. but I do believe that our future dealings will be most profitable. She smiles again. She says, "You may go." And she leaves she says, "My people will be in touch with you. We know exactly where to find you." She smiles again, and you feel the same kind of warm, desperate desire for her approval, as again, she sort of radiates this bizarre attraction, almost like light coming off her. And all of a sudden, the big, strong man in the suit has kind of got his hand on your shoulder, and he's indicating that you must now stand and leave, although you're free to take your briefcase with your 5 crystal glasses of 105-year-old whiskey.
So I pack my battery, I take my whiskey, I wink at the lady, and I walk out of the room ahead of the security guard. Touching some gold items on my way out, but not taking them.
You re-enter the busy lobby with the hustle and bustle of the beautiful people enjoying the dark but beautiful art on display, both painted and carved. And for that point, your story will come to an end for tonight. But you may reward yourself with 5 points, freebie points of experience, which you can spend later. And we'll pick up our adventure here next time.
Awesome.
Is that an episode of Rick and Morty?
Yeah, his character is actually based on Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. So his character is loosely based on Rick and Morty.
I can't believe you guys still going at it. It's been like 2 hours since I left and I come back and you're still going at it.
Yeah, this game takes a while. Usually about 2 hours at a time.
It was sweet. That was like fucking fun as fuck.
It's pretty great, right? It's a good game.
Yeah. Oh my god, Iris is gonna love playing this.